Hello, pre-algebra students. This is Chapter 5.3, Adding and Subtracting Unlike Fractions. Let's review the process for adding and subtracting unlike fractions. If we have the fractions 5/12 and 1/3, and we want to add them together, the first thing we have to do is find a least common denominator. So the least common denominator for 12 and 3 would be 12. So we would rewrite our problem as 5/12 plus, and then we need to change 1/3 to an equivalent fraction that also has the denominator 12. And that would be 4/12. Because we've taken 3 times 4 to get 12, and 1 times 4 to get 4. Now, we simply add the numerators together to get 9. The denominators stay the same, 12, and now we simplify to get 3/4. Let's try a subtraction problem. We have -5/6 minus 7/9. Once again, our first step is to find the least common denominator, which in this case will be 18. So we need to rewrite each fraction as an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 18. 5/6 will become 15/18, and 7/9 will become 14/18. -15 minus 14 gives us -29 over 18. Then we'll simplify, which in this case means we're going to rewrite our fraction as a mixed number, which is going to be -1 and 11/18. Now let's work through an addition example that uses mixed numbers. We'll start with -4 and 2/5 plus -2 and 6/11. Our first step will be to convert our mixed numbers into improper fractions. So we'll simply rewrite each of these as -22 over 5 plus -28 over 11. Now we need to find a least common denominator for 5 and 11. Unfortunately, I think that's going to be 55, which means we simply have a lot of multiplication to do here. So -22 times 11 will give us -242 over 55. And let's see, -28 times 5 will be -140 over 55. Now we add. -242 minus 140 is -382 over 55. Now to simplify, we need to convert this to a mixed number, which will be, hold on a second, let me give us a little bit of space. Let's see, 55 will go into -382 6 times, giving us a remainder of 52 over 55. And our final answer is -6 and 52/55. Try these 6 practice problems on your own. Each require you to find a least common denominator to solve the problems presented with these unlike fractions. Press pause, and when you come back, we'll try another set of problems. Let's work a subtraction problem using unlike fractions through a word problem. You're hiking between 2 campsites in the Chesapeake and Ohio Canal National Historic Park. Here's campsite A. Here's campsite B. The distance between the 2 campsites is 10 and 1/5 miles. So far, you've left campsite A, and you've hiked 5 and 3/4 miles. How many more miles do you have to hike? Finding our remaining distance is a simple subtraction problem. We need to take our total distance, 10 and 1/5 miles, and subtract the distance we've traveled, 5 and 3/4 miles. Our first step is to write our mixed numbers as improper fractions. So 10 and 1/5 becomes 51/5 miles. And 5 3/4 becomes 23/4 miles. Our next step is to find a least common denominator, which in this case I believe is going to be 20. So our numbers become 204 over 20 minus 115 over 20, giving us an answer of 89/20. Our final step is to convert our fraction back into a mixed number. So 89/20 becomes 4 9/20 miles. So there are 4 9/20 miles remaining to travel. Here are 3 practice problems for you subtracting mixed numbers. Press pause while you complete these, and when you get back, we'll simplify expressions using unlike fractions. Here's our final practice problem for this particular lesson. We're going to simplify the expression a over 2 minus a over 6. Just as we would with any regular fraction, we need to find the least common denominator. In this case, we know our least common denominator will be 6. So, how do we make an equivalent fraction? Well, we need to take a times 3 and 2 times 3 minus a over 6 to create our equivalent fraction. So this becomes 3a over 6 minus a over 6, which can now be rewritten as 2a over 6, which can then be simplified to 1a over 3, or just a over 3. And that is the end of Chapter 5.3. When I see you tomorrow, we'll practice more with solving problems that involve unlike fractions. See you then.